So welcome class, this is Bhupendra Yadav from Inception UPSC. Today we will going to learn about emergency and the provisions related to emergency and the requirements, what the impact on our polity and how it can exercise and why we need the emergency. All these questions we will cover in this video. So we in the class, let's start with our topic. So what is the meaning of emergency? In general term, if we talk about the emergency, that means a certain situation which are abnormal, which are not familiar to normal things. Like suppose if you are doing something, if you're in your routine work, you go to school, you go to college, then you go to the coachings, then you do your homework and anything else you can do. Uh, and this is your routine work, okay, but for the certain conditions, suppose you met with an accident, or suppose you have the guest in your house, or the unforeseen situation which you didn't expect. These conditions are known as the emergency situations, and to meet this emergency situation, we left our routine work and give the priority on the solution of our emergency. So that's how the emergency evolved. And the same process goes with our Indian polity or Indian constitution system, which tells about the normal functioning. Okay, in the normal functioning, the state will do this thing, center will do these things, and the authorities will do these duties. There are certain duties about the judiciary also they will do in such a manner. But for the emergency condition, suppose if we have suppose we have the war with Pakistan, or we have the armed rebellion, we have the disturbance or something else, natural calamities, and you can imagine other things which are not in our routine, which are not in the, perform in the normal situation. To meet this situation, we left our routine. Same here, we will left the routine work of state government. We left with the routine work of central government, judiciary, executive, everything. They will leave their regular work and try to cope up with the situation which is arise. That's how the emergency concept works. Now keep this in mind that for the emergency situation, we left our routine work and give priority to the problem. So if we talked about the emergency in polity of India, the constitution mentioned about this in the article 352, article 352, article 356, article 360, or we can say from article 352 to article 360, the emergency provisions are given. So our constitution divided emergency into three types of emergency, that is national emergency, state emergency, and financial emergency. So now I want to give you the brief, a short introduction about the national, state, and financial emergency. That is, what is national emergency? When whole nation is facing the similar problem, or the problem is that much big that the every section of society or the whole nation is in worry. That is national emergency. State emergency, when a certain state having their problem, and to cope up this problem the state government is not sufficient, so they request to the central government or the president to come and handle this situation. That is state emergency. Financial emergency means when you have no money and you need a money in the emergency situations. So that is financial emergency. It can be of two types, that maybe the in a certain state is not having that much money to perform their regular duties, or we can say the whole nation can have this type of situation where the money is their money is no more. Okay, so financial emergency can be examined or can be imposed in the two stages, either in state or in national. So these are the basic introduction of national, state, and financial emergency. Now let's start with the national emergency. Then we will cover state emergency, then financial emergency. All the emergency will be covered in the detailed format, so that if you get any question in any exam, you can answer this. You can answer the question. Start with the national emergency. National emergency is given in the Article 352. Now remember this article, Article 352. For some time, uh, they can ask about the article number. National emergency means whole nation is in trouble. Why the nation is in trouble? There are two grounds. Either it is the trouble is originated outside or the trouble is inside. If outside, it is known as the external ground, or the if it is inside, it is known as internal grounds. So these are the two grounds mentioned on which the national emergency can impose. What are the reasons, or what are the possibilities uh, externally that they can trouble the trouble a nation? That is external aggression, external aggression, and war. Now, you can say, sir, if the war is sufficient, why we need to put the external aggression word? Suppose a country is dominating India, or tend to fight with India. They uh, move their soldiers, they move their army to the border of India, and they continue to threaten India that okay, we either you surrender or we will proceed to the Delhi. And in that situation, the country have to fight. The country have no option other than go in war. Then in that situation, we can say the war will start. And whenever the war is start, the whole country's priority is to win the war. So war is the major scenario in which the external emergency can impose. But as we know that war is not only a threat, there are some external threats like when the terrorism arising around the border of a country, when the country is backing, external country means foreign country is backing the group of people to start war with the country, with the India. Suppose I'm talking about the Pakistan. Okay. Right now I'm talking about the Pakistan. Due to Pakistan's activity, we need to mention the word external aggression, because there are many instances where the army of Pakistan do not directly include or do not directly engage with the Indian army. Rather than they send some people with the dynamites, with the rocket launchers, and tell them, okay, go and fight with Indian army. Now we can, there are conditions. There are conditions when we can claim the war. When two army fighting with each other, then we can claim the war. If our army and the group of people which are unrecognized or unorganized, if they are clashing with the army, then we cannot say that our army or our nation is at the stage of war. Okay, so it is known as external aggression. So what is external aggression? When the group of people or unrecognized group of people, unorganized group of people fighting with our borders, fighting with our army, then we can say that it is an external aggression. It is not a war. We can only claim war when two or more armies clashing with each other. Then we can say that our country or our army is in stage of war. So that's why we need to include external aggression. So these are the two scenarios, two grounds on which the emergency can impose. Now move to the internal reason. What are the internal reasons? Actually, there is only one reason is mentioned in our constitution, that is internal disturbance. Only in internal disturbance. It was a precautionary measure when the when a government feel that okay, our society of people or the group of people in country try to disturb the peace and harmony of it, of our nation, then to curb this anti-social element, the government can impose national emergency. But as we know that there is a method of error and trials and error method known as, okay, when we put these words, that is internal disturbance, we definitely means that the some anti-social element who try to disintegrate India, who tried to rip apart India as a nation, or who tried to seize the part of our territory. To curb them, to curb them, we need special forces. We need the special powers under the national emergency. So that was the whole scenario. But during the emergency periods, when the Indira Gandhi imposed the national emergency in the 1975, they imposed the national emergency on the ground of internal disturbance. Uh, After the Indira Gandhi, when the Janta government came, 1978, and they declared that the emergency which was declared by the Indira Gandhi only on political grounds. If there is no any type of internal disturbance, suppose Indira Gandhi interpret internal disturbance as the someone is writing, someone is demanding for something. Suppose we can say Andolan type things were happen at the reign of Indira Gandhi. So they interpret it as the internal disturbance. And when the 1978 the Janta government came, they said, okay, the protest is our fundamental right. Demanding something from the government is our fundamental right. We can demand because we choose our government, so we can demand. We can ask government to come down. We can protest. We can demand. Okay, whatever we want, we can do in peaceful manner. It should not be interpreted as the internal disturbance. So in 1978, by the 44th Amendment, uh, there is a correction made, and the internal disturbance word was deleted, and in place of internal disturbance, a new word was inserted with the name, that is armed rebellion. Armed rebellion. And the government said internal disturbance can only be interpreted in the manner where the people picked up the arms and destroy the constitutionality, destroy the constitution, then only we can impose the national emergency. Because national emergency is a very tough and very harsh phenomena. Very harsh, because in the national emergency you lose your fundamental rights, you lose your federal setup of polity, everything, which you lose autonomy, judiciary have no power under the national emergency. It is become more like paralyzed organization. Okay. So on these by seeing these scenarios, the new government came and decided that internal disturbance will not be the sole factor, will not be the grounds for the imposing national emergency, rather than the armed rebellion will be the ground. So these are the grounds.